Are there marine sustainability issues in Australia? Australia is a nation surrounded by water. Due to its continental size, Australia has the third largest economic exclusive zone at over 10 million square kilometres, which means Australia possesses more oceanic territory than terrestrial. Only the USA and France rival Australia's immense ocean territory. Despite the huge EEZ area, Australia's fishing industry is rather minuscule, with annual marine harvests being lower than the countries of Uganda or Yemen. Australia's low harvest is blamed on the nutrient-lacking ocean waters. However, this would mean Australia sits in a void of oceanic life, as fisheries such as Thailand and Indonesia achieve protein harvest rates of more than 8,000 kilograms per square kilometre, whereas the Australian average is around 30 kilograms per square kilometre. PNG and New Zealand achieve harvest rates that dwarf Australia. The global average is cited at being around 1,000 kilograms per square kilometre. Chlorophyll concentrations reveal promising productivity in Australian waters, refuting claims our waters are barren and hold little life. The low harvest rate in Australia leads to abysmal seafood production, which resides at 1/30th of the global average. Despite extremely low fishing effort in Australia, the country possesses a vast network of marine park estates, which include protected areas banning fishing. The Department of Fisheries and the Department of Parks and Wildlife claim they are in place to protect areas from coastal development and fishing. However, marine pollution in Australia is below 5%, well below global averages. Australia also has the lowest amount of people living near reefs, which are critical to marine ecosystem health. The lack of coastal population leads to a below average coastal development threat. This, combined with the fact that overfishing is claimed as being essentially non-existent in Australia by annual Commonwealth fishery reports, and a global assessment of marine environments called Reefs at Risk, which is signed by Al Gore, who is a prominent figure with regards to sustainability and environmentalism. In the most recent State of the Fishery report, all Australian fisheries are cited as being sustainably managed, with none in a state of overfishing, with claims that in the north of Australia, commercial fishing has led to no ecological or trophic change in the past 30 years. Generally, claims of fish being extinct due to fishing are unsubstantiated, and generally fishing becomes uneconomical before extinction can occur. It is a consensus amongst government agencies that Australia imports over 70% of its edible seafood from Asia, and from areas which are regarded as unsustainable fisheries, with blast and poison fishing taking place in much of Asia. These areas have little regulation and marine ecosystems face severe threats from marine pollution and coastal development. In this sense, the Australian government exports sustainability problems to other countries, with its own fishery being largely export-based, leading management authorities being potentially in breach of the United Nations Law of the Sea Treaty. In Australia, we are often led to believe Australia's oceans are under severe pressure by media outlets and agencies, such as the WWF, Greenpeace, and the Marine Stewardship Council, and various other environmental non-government agencies, with salvation only lying with the continual implementation of marine park estates and no-take zones. And while this may be the case in countries such as China, Indonesia, and Thailand, that have little regard for sustainability, it is certainly not the case in a strictly managed Australian fisheries. If we buy into the agenda to stop fishing, it may do more ecological damage to the environment than fishing could ever do. If global fishing were to stop, an area 22 times the size of the world's rainforest would be needed to replace the marine protein with poultry, beef, and chicken. Education lies at the heart of fixing this problem. Information is freely available that disputes many of the apocalyptic claims that Australia's marine environments are in. Fishermen are the true pioneers of sustainability. Without fish, their livelihoods and families are at risk. By Australians rejecting imported seafood and petitioning for more local sustainable fishing instead of marine parks, our nation can truly do its part to ensure fish are around for future generations.